I'd like to reconvene open session, the Washington Unified School District Agenda, Regular Board of Education for May 28, 2015. If I can get Deborah Hearn to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Announcement of actions taken in closed session. Information, item number 1, Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, CSEA and management. Assistant Superintendent Landsberg and Pam Guyvet were in attendance. Information was provided and direction was given. We are down to communications and celebrations. We'd like to recognize and thank Intel Volunteer Grant Program for their generous donation of $2,000 to Bridgeway Island. Item number 2, we'd like to recognize and thank the students in our Permatours program. And I have a small statement here, and I understand we have some certificates. Is she here? So the River City High School Youth Permatours program was implemented to promote the concept of health happens here.
Do you have your camera? Oh, I gave it to Angela. She'll take our picture.
Oh, my name's on this. I lost my name on this. If I can have the following students step forward and we'll give you your certificates. And I apologize in advance if I hammer your name or misstate your name. Devontara Beaver, Julio Cortez, Michael Folk, Azia Luter, Cameron Terrell, Xavier Romero, Andrea Garcia, Tony Bias.
Can you stay up here so we can take your
Yes,
picture?
yes, please. Please stay. Angela Cadra, Isabel Lopez, Carmen Moreno, Asham Khan, Dulce Oliveras, Amnad Usafi, Maria Aguilar, and Maria De La Torre.
Yeah, face off.
And while they're posing for their picture, I wanted to let you know that this program, the River City Youth Promotora program, was implemented to promote the concept of health happens here in the community of West Sacramento. Health Happens Here is an initiative of the California Endowment to encourage Californians to think of health beyond doctor's visits, nutrition, and exercise. It encouraged Californians to think of health as prevention, community development, advocacy, and youth engagement. These youths participated in a weekly trainings, outreach events, community services, and peer-to-peer education throughout the program year. They are recognized today for their dedication to community service in the city of West Sacramento. Turn around, y'all. We would have student board member report, but we don't have a student tonight. WTA.
Good evening. I know it's only been a few weeks since we settled our contract for this year, but just to let you know, we're right in the middle of looking over our contract survey for next year, and we hope to have our sunshine articles at the next board meeting. So I know something that all of us will need to be thinking about as we prepare for next year. And our admin survey, our annual admin survey, will be going out any day now, and hopefully we'll have that to present between now and the end of June. And just one other item tonight, and I'm encouraged by the draft LCAP proposal that's you'll be looking at later on this evening, but I just thought I'd mention it in my comments. And I like the way it has been revised this year and seems much more focused and much more easy to understand and follow. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. CSEA, Deborah?
Good evening. Well, we did ratify our contract, our tentative agreement last week with a yes vote. So I just wanted to say thank the board and for being able to have a successful negotiations and for it going really well. I also want to really thank you guys for keeping the ACE program with that classified having their unit going, and it's just good to see that every year that we can have the board members and the superintendents, the district office being able to want to work with us and work with our members. We're really getting a kick out of that. We've been able to do it for the third year, so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. We have public comments. I'll read our little disclaimer here. At this time, members of the public may address the board on topics that are under the jurisdiction of the board and are not on the agenda, although the board by law may not take action at this meeting. Education Code 3514535. The board may limit the total time for public input on any topic to 20 minutes unless it chooses to waive the item limit for a particular item. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. Public comments consisting of individual charges, complaints, or derogatory remarks about any district employee are requested to be submitted in writing to the administration in accordance with the district's complaint procedure. And we have a few public comments here this afternoon. Heather? Juan Azevedo.
Hello. I'm here on behalf of West Sac Wrestling Club. Right now, the kids are having issues with having a facility to practice at, which obviously makes it really difficult for the kids if they have tournaments, where to practice. So our main objective is to make sure that these kids have a facility where they can actually wrestle. They have one now, and that would be ideal to try to continue that. And I'm here because I used to be the wrestling coach at the high school a few years back, and I helped start the middle school program. And the reason why I started that is because wrestling helped me stay out the streets. I grew up in West Sac, in Broderick, in the early 90s when it was kind of a little rougher than it is now. And because of wrestling, it actually helped me stay away from all my friends who were, gangbanging, doing all these things because, they got to go to tournaments early in the morning on Saturday. So when you're gone, all these guys are, going out Friday night, doing all these things. But wrestling gave me the outlet to wrestle. The next day I'd be exhausted, so I couldn't hang out with my friends because they're doing their thing. And, in hindsight, now I'm a trainer and I became a professional mixed martial artist. But it all started from wrestling. If I would have never introduced myself to wrestling, I have brothers that are in prison now. I don't know what path I might have went down. So it's really, for me, it's something really, really passionate because it's my life. It's my livelihood. It kind of helped me go down this angle where I'm very blessed now. So I'm just, basically what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that this program that they're trying to run is very, very important because it's going to give all these kids another outlet. Like, earlier they had the teens or these young people up here for being fit, which is great. Same thing for wrestling. It's going to teach you all kinds of tools that later on in life, how to be, mentally tough, set goals. Real quick, a friend of mine, Uriah Faber, was talking yesterday about how wrestling helped him. Now he's a world champion, all these things, but because in wrestling you have to be tough and goal-oriented and you write stuff down and you're constantly getting beat up and you grind it out, and that becomes a lifestyle not just for wrestling but also for school. He ended up going to UC Davis. He would have never went to UC Davis. So all these things, for me and him, if it wasn't for wrestling, who knows where we would have ended up. And we're close friends now. But for me, if I didn't choose wrestling. I was kind of in that point in my life where, I don't know, hanging out with my friends is really cool too. But because I had a wrestling room, because I had these things available to me, then I made a choice. And, if these kids don't have a choice, who knows what they can do? I know nowadays things are a lot better than they were when I was younger here in this area, but, I want to make sure that they have an outlet to express themselves, wrestle, and, see what they can do instead of just Little League baseball and football. Thank you.
Angelina Ensley.
Good evening, board members. I just want to take an opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Angelina Ensley. I'm the fundraising manager and the secretary for the West Sac Wrestling Club. And as we begin to put our paperwork through and ask questions, I want you to be able to put a face with the name that you see come across. So if I call and have questions, and I can introduce myself, along with Lisa Sines, who is our treasurer. So I just wanted to say thank you, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Lawrence Saenz, S-A-E-N-Z.
Hi, my name's Lawrence Sines. I'm the president and head coach of the West Sacramento Youth Wrestling Club. We've been practicing over at River City for the last 3 years, and in April of this year, the school mandated that we pay a $27 custodial fee that was not told to us at the beginning of the year. So that comes out to about $54 a day to practice at that facility. Most of my kids are K through 8, so what we're looking at doing is trying to find a facility within the River City or within the Washington Unified School District to find a place to practice, whether it's one of the K through 8 schools, maybe the old River City High School. I believe our vision is to continue what we got going. We have kids in the area that place at big tournaments like Reno Worlds, USA Nationals, that won't be able to continue this type of wrestling if we don't have a place to practice, and they'll end up going to other places like Del Oro, Elk Grove, Roseville, and other Sacramento teams. For me, wrestling, like Juan said, teaches all about goal setting. It's a positive influence in their lives. We check grades, we make sure all the kids are going to school, and it teaches all the kids that good things come from hard work. We encourage all the kids to be active, voice their opinions, but also main goal is to work hard. And that is what we're trying to request now, is try to get a facility use form exempt from those fees, or to work out some reasonable rate where I can get first and second and third year wrestlers a place to practice without charging them $400 for a 3-month practice season. Thank you for your time.
Nadine Zalatuka, Z-A-L-U-T-K-A.
Location, location, location. Those are the words that I often heard from my father-in-law and real estate investor, the late Joe Zaluka. He would say location is everything. Little did I know that this would also apply to high school students. I'm Mrs. Zaluka, and I'm here this evening along with Mrs. Pulitz and Mrs. Tapia to personally thank you, the board, for your wisdom and foresight when 2 years ago you decided to move independent study from the campus of Alice Norman to River City High School. I am thrilled to report that students are thriving and excited to be a part of the high school experience. First, our numbers have grown. During our first year on campus, independent study served 35% more students than the year before at Alice Norman, and this year our numbers grew another 20%. We typically see 150% student turnover in the program. However, this year our numbers dropped dramatically to about 20% turnover, thus creating a waiting list for part of the year. I believe this is a direct result of the collaboration between independent study and the counseling department. The counselors and independent study teachers meet regularly to ensure placements are appropriate for student success. Because of the move to River City, independent study students and their families have access to academic counselors on campus. They are receiving services, support, scholarship, and college information. Thank you, Ms. Clark, Ms. Grisafi, Ms. Ozeroff, Ms. Price, and Ms. Stressler for all of your help, support, and team spirit that you exhibit daily. Another benefit to the move to River City campus is the elimination of the past off-site issues, such as the absence of transportation, denial to military service, and obstacles to college entrance due to lack of accreditation. These have all been resolved. We have 4 students who are accepted into the military service directly from independent study, and students who are applying for and being accepted to 4-year universities. This would not have happened if we were still on the old campus. Independent study offers standardized courses which are A to G approved, equivalent in quality and quantity to the on-campus courses. Therefore, this allows all students to transfer seamlessly to and from independent study and River City High. Students have also benefited from concurrent enrollment. This year, we had over a dozen students taking courses on campus and independent study concurrently. For few students, this was a path to gently ease their way back into the classroom setting. For others, it was a lifeline to graduation, as independent study offers flexibility and self-paced courses. Home and hospital students have also benefited from independent study being on campus, as many of them return to school after recovering from an extensive illness and request independent study as a means of transitioning back to the classroom full-time. Thanks to our board, teen parents have excelled and been able to focus while in independent study due to the child care agreement at the rec center located on campus. Teen parents are comfortable leaving their infants while in independent study, knowing that their baby is just seconds away and in good hands. Because of this, all of our teen parents are graduating, and one was accepted directly to a 4-year college this year. Also, we were able to work with First 5 of Yolo County and Yolo Family Service Agency and the Rec Center to arrange for parenting classes that will begin next term, all at no cost to the district. Other benefits to being on campus include availability of the computer lab, as 90% of our students do not have technology or internet available at home. They have access to the nurse, participation in clubs, band, sports, cheerleading, and school spirit. Many of our students are now participating in spirit weeks and rallies and school lunches. As independent study teachers, we now have access to our colleagues. We attend collaboration and staff meetings, which are invaluable for building relationships, which in turn are beneficial to the students. As you know, for many years, independent study did not have access to a credentialed science teacher. This year, an amazing River City science teacher simply walked across campus from the science building to our building, 1 period per day, to teach science and perform labs with the students. All independent study students enrolled in science attended the required labs and 100% passed their science courses. It was certainly a first to have cow eyeballs in the independent study room, but nonetheless, we thank you, Marlena Schroeder. Finally, one of the many goals of independent study is to offer a variety of online courses. We are excited to report that this summer, independent study will participate in a technology pilot program for online learning with Edgenuity. Thank you once again for making students the priority, for moving independent study to the River City campus. The accomplishments are many. I could go on and on, but I won't. And they would not have happened without your support. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Tony Marvelli.
Thank you, members of the school board. I wish I could be here under different circumstances, like how our marching band and big band received first place at competitions this year, or how our wind ensemble received a unanimous superior rating at Golden Empire Music Festival. However, I've been receiving notification from K-8 band directors that schedules are being finalized and yet again do not coincide with the plan that the board has approved. The experience that some band students are slated to receive next year is band all in 1 period, and in some cases every other day. This is the 3rd year that I've been working on this problem since the board deemed VAPA a priority in our district. I knew that there were going to be challenges to fitting this into the schedule, and I thought that a board directive would mean that sites would do their very best they could to ensure VAPA implementation. This should certainly be achievable for next year. I feel that there is no district unity in solving this problem. The top band program in this area, without a doubt, is Folsom High School. I'm sure Board Member Kirby Gonzalez is well aware of the accomplishments of Folsom. The band students at Folsom start in 4th or 5th grade. They take band every day in separate leveled classes. They also receive private instruction from a professional on their instrument outside the school day. Although I know that this is probably not possible for parents to afford private lessons in West Sacramento, the least we can do is offer a leveled band program that meets every day like a class. I see that AVID is being given priority over band classes in several school sites. I have nothing against AVID, but would you put AVID above math or English? Although it has been accepted that music and the arts are extracurricular, non-core, supplemental, this could not be further from the truth. If you look at the California Ed Code, section 51210E and 51220G, it lists all the mandated curricula for every public school in the state. VAPA is on the list, written exactly like English and math. Our VAPA is currently operating on our VAPA plan is currently operating on the notion that we would have achieved leveled band instruction in all 6th through 8th grades, where a student would be in band daily and each teacher would be teaching at least 2 periods a day at each school site. I would really like for the board to look into this matter, as it is a great impact on the quality of the educational institution as a whole. Thank you.
Yolanda Moore.
Good afternoon. I'm here on the behalf of the a few students here and parents in regards to the graduation ceremony that we've been discussing and communicating with you guys about in emails. So again, I just want to say that we have been working diligently. It's tiring, it's frustrating. We don't understand why we haven't heard back in regards to making an exception. Again, we're not asking you guys to change the policy, but to look at your policy and the flaws and inconsistencies that it does have. Again, I stated we weren't properly notified. I personally was notified in regards to Asia not receiving her diploma. However, your policy states that school personnel have to contact family or the parents or caregivers if their child is not walking. Had I known this before, as I explained this in the emails, then I would have been here addressing this. So we just want to follow up. We want answers. They graduate June 4th. For me, I'm speaking for myself, I'm going to do all that I can in order to see change. Even if it's 2 or 3 years down the line, it has to be changed. It's so many different things that your policy, it's very flawed. Lots of inconsistencies. I offered my help to the superintendent as a professional and as a parent looking from the outside to help you guys develop some of those things to see what I saw. So I know that you guys can answer questions, but just to refresh, we want to know, will there be a special board meeting before graduation considering the inconsistencies and flaws in the graduation policy, as well as a school's failure to notify parents if their child was not going to walk? Will we hear a response before graduation from the board on whether or not an exception will be made for students? I also understand that exceptions have been made for students to walk who have been suspended or expelled, in which we've discussed that in our letters. And this may be off topic, but it has also been brought to my attention during the the CASI test in May. There were a couple of students that cheated. I can provide you with Facebook messages from these students, which is a discipline issue. So I can get with the principal with that. And let's see, what else do I have? So another thing that I wrote is we also want to know, how will the school know if a student passes a CASI if they took the test in May and results will not be back until July? The policy states that students have to pass the CASI to walk. It is unclear if these 3 girls have passed due to the fact that the test scores have not been submitted to River City High School. So that's where we're at. I just want to let you guys know that I'm going to fight it, and just to see what we can do and how we can help. The board, I'm more than happy to come to meetings, again, like we said, we're not asking you to change it, but to make an exception for these girls. They've worked hard. Thank you.
Thank you. Cynthia Armenta?
Hi again. So mine's kind of short. So I did find out from other school districts that their students who don't pass the CATSI are able to walk with the certificate of completion. Just saying that they completed their stuff for graduation. That's all I'm asking, just for them to walk. A certificate saying that they've met all the requirements for their senior year, just to walk. Nobody needs to know that they didn't pass the casting, but just that they were there, they did everything they did as students and followed all the rules, met all the requirements for their credits, and they're able to walk. That's all I'm asking. And I would hate for this to happen to other parents down the line too. Like Yolanda said, I'd be willing to help out too. I remember my graduation from Bishop Manogue, and it was wonderful. And I wouldn't want that to be taken away from these girls. A certificate of completion that they did everything that they were supposed to, from kindergarten, even preschool, to now, to walk. Thank you.
Thank you. Cecilia Turner?
Hello. I'm also here in regards to the CASI test and the students not graduating or walking because of it. I believe that the students should, in West Sacramento, they didn't pass the CAT test. I think it's unfair to them because it tells them, that even though we get all of our credits and they tell us that's all we have to do, all the credits, and because of one single test that the teachers are supposed to, prepare us for, we don't pass, is just not fair. The one single test when I got all my credits all year long. Throughout my whole 4-year career in high school. I think that that graduation should be based more on the credits basically that they earned during the school year. I think that the policy should be changed. It should be changed depending on each individual student, not as far as just a round figure. It's all in one. I think each student is different in the situations they're going through. What else? My niece, she is a good student. She ran track. She set records. She got all her grades up. She even broke her ACL in basketball. And I think that she worked hard up to this point to get to walk at least. I like the lady said, at least certificate would justify because she did get the credits that are recommended by the state to pass. That's it.
Thank you. Rosalia Armenta and Asia Price.
Hi. Hello. Basically, I just want to say, I'm stressed every day going to school. I just want to know, can I walk? I've never got suspended. I've never had behavioral problems. Why is it that people who have those problems get to walk? They got to appeal. Did I get to appeal it? No. To me, it's not fair. To a point where I don't want to go to school. I don't want to finish off. I don't want to do it because what's the point? What's the point of me going to school? If I can't get at least a certificate, like I have level 2.0, I'm meeting requirements just because a couple points on the CASI, I can't walk. I'm scared if I can't go to college. I can't. What am I going to do? I can't go to college without a diploma. Can't do anything without a high school diploma.
I just want to know, since we have met all the requirements and everything, but just one thing is holding us back, if you guys will let us walk and receive a certificate of completion. That's all we're asking.
And so my name is Cecilia, and I wasn't here last time because of my track meet, but I want to graduate because I got all my grades up. I go to school every day. I'm on time every day. I don't get any trouble. And us all walking the stage, that would be a good thing for us because we met all the requirements. We all don't get in trouble. We do what we're supposed to do. And I think a certificate and walking the stage would be good for us.
Thank you. Ed and Charles Castorina.
Good evening, school board members. I'm Ed Castorina. That's my wife, Cheryl Castorina. Tonight, I'm here to bring attention to some dying trees at Riverbank School that could be a hazard to the children and the cars parked in the school parking lot. I have printed out some pictures to show you, and perhaps when you attend the Kaboom Bright Park playground build this Sunday, you could take time to look at them yourself. The trees in the parking lot, there's one tree leaning over already with what looks like lots of dead branches. The group of trees that have the dead grass and several trees with lots of dead branches are located on the southeast corner of the school near the kindergarten classes. They also have power lines that run through them to the school. These have not been watered for quite a while. If they fall, they could cause great damage to the school area or housing next door, to the lot there. I was told these are sycamore trees with really deep roots, and they shouldn't be in the condition that they are. Those trees were there when I went to high school in the 60s, and I don't know why they're that sick or they're not being watered. Some of those trees, I believe, are around 80 feet tall. They're tall, very tall trees.
I'll leave these for you for your record. You can look at them, okay?
Thank you. Richard Markson.
Good evening, board members. Richard Markson, Pacific Advocacy Group, here representing the Western Electrical Contractors Association and the Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors of California. A colleague and I addressed the board last month about your apprenticeship policy statement 1314-10, and I'd like to open tonight with a question. What would the district do with an additional $2.5 million? You could support your wrestling program, maybe even provide a facility for them. You could certainly do something about remediating your tree problem. You could support your independent study program that reported on some rather remarkable achievements today. And yet, last time when we spoke to you about your policy, it was kind of a theoretical discussion about whether it was appropriate for the district to have a policy that discriminates against state-approved apprenticeship programs that are authorized by the state of California to train and dispatch apprentices here in Yolo County. And I provided you, as a reminder, with a list of the programs and the crafts that you discriminate against. But it's a real issue for the district right now. And the reason that I mentioned the $2.5 million is that subsequent to our appearance last month, we've learned that you've disqualified an otherwise appropriate bidder on a construction project for the district. You couldn't go to the second lowest bidder. You had to go to the third lowest bidder at an additional cost of $2.5 million because of this one policy. How many other bidders have been disqualified since the policy has been in place? How many future bidders will be disqualified? How many additional millions of dollars that could be spent on other very important projects for the district will you spend before you eliminate this discriminatory policy and let every program that's approved by the state of California provide apprentices for your construction projects? Now, I don't know if this was an unintentional oversight when the policy was adopted by the board. I suspect that it wasn't, based upon the folks who drafted it, and I'm sure that they assured you, or assured the board members that voted for it, that there would be no cost associated with restricting apprentices to only union programs. But just in the last month, we've seen convincing evidence that there's cost to the district and significant cost. I believe that the project in question was only about $7.5 million, and you're now going to have to pay $10 million for that project. So what will you not be able to do by having to pay the additional $2.5 million? What could you have done with that additional $2.5 million to support the other programs that are important and are achieving results in the district? We encourage you again, change the policy. All you need to do is strike a single word from the policy and let every program compete and provide apprentices on your construction projects. Thank you.
Thank you. December, I don't want to put you in a spot. I know you want to talk on an item N3, but we're not going to get there for a while. Do you want to take the chance now to talk, or you get to wait? You want to talk now? So we have December Brinsfield. She's going to talk on N3.
Good evening. My name is December Brinsfield, and I am the River City High School Athletic Booster President. I am a third-year generation resident of West Sacramento. My parents attended Washington High School. My husband and myself attended River City, and my son is graduating this year. I wanted to take this opportunity to thank the school board as well as the district staff for considering the renewal of our agreement with River City High School and hopefully helping us to continue this long-standing tradition in West Sacramento. The boosters volunteer their time to raise funds to help the River City High School athletic department, coaches, and athletes. Over the past 8 years, the boosters have given close to $100,000 in athletic funds and scholarships. We are proud of that contribution to helping the athletic programs, but mostly we are proud of our ability to help our senior athletes go on to college and contribute towards their successes. In my 4 years as a booster member, I have been told by visitors from other schools that we have a beautiful campus and a wonderful or delicious snack bar, which we are very proud of. All of these things, including the accomplishments of our athletic teams, help us show our community pride, our Raider pride, and our booster pride. Again, I just want to say thank you to the board and Washington Unified School District staff for helping us support our kids. And as next year's president, we look forward to great things for River City High School athletics as well as the Booster Club. Thank you.
Thank you. We have board and superintendent comments. Board member Leland, any comments, please?
I have a couple of updates, and it's kind of timely that the wrestlers were here tonight. I wanted to announce that we have the 10th annual Sacramento City College Youth Wrestling Camp. And I know you're probably very aware of our wrestling team at Sac City College.
Oh, he's the coach.
So I just wanted to really highlight that. And I don't know, this is a good format to put it out there to parents. It's open to what, 10 to 18-year-olds, and it's July 10th through 12th. Really a low fee, and I just thought that was this would be a good opportunity to talk about our wrestling camp.
The West Sacramento wrestling coach, he's actually the assistant coach at Sac City as well.
Okay.
And my boys did the wrestling camp last year, and my daughter, who's 7, who's starting wrestling this year, will do the camp.
Well, fabulous. Anything, anytime we can collaborate and partner with our community college or 4-year colleges, but we, being an administrator at Sacramento City College, I'm really proud of our wrestling team. I had a cousin that was a state wrestling champion, and I think whether we're talking about music or athletics, I think it's really important for our students to be well-rounded. And so thank you for presenting tonight. And then I wanted to just report on a couple of events, and I know some of my board members, fellow board members attended the same event, so I'm just going to hit my own highlights. But before I talk about the individual events, I want to say that, overall, as a district and a city, I think we're doing a better job of really making education a focus and making health a focus. And those two things are really very important. And then when we're involved in these activities, it's important to acknowledge folks that are doing that. And so that kind of speaks to the three events that I think highlights these areas. In the education focus, we had the Kinders to College event at the West Sac Center, Sacramento City College. I was joined by my colleague Norma Calla. It was so much fun. Such great partnership with Washington Unified, with the college, and with the mentor students that we had from Yolo High School. I was just really very, very proud of the whole program, and Norma will speak to it a little bit more. But it was a great event, and really, I think, shows that advocacy to parents and even to the students themselves, how important it is to begin thinking about education very early in their life. And 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, it's not too early to start talking about college. And so that was important. And then we attended the Urban Farm Food for Families groundbreaking, and I'll let two of my board colleagues that were with me for that event, they can give some more specifics. But again, that was about, urban farms, healthy communities, healthy kids, and so exciting. And then we all attended the employee recognition for our staff, and also acknowledged our retirees and all the service years. I don't know how many years we actually came up with. I'm sure one of you will remember. I don't think it was 2,000. It might have been 400 and something years we're retiring from Washington Unified. But what a great opportunity to really acknowledge our staff and for the great job they've done, and wish them well as they move into retirement. And so I think that's all I have right now. I did also get to visit the Penguin class finally, and trying to get out to a couple of elementary, the K-8 schools before the end of the year. And I think it's a good test to see how, at the end of the year, that's a real challenge to see how they're focusing and still paying attention while having 1 foot out the door, ready to go to the swimming pool and have fun over the summer. So that's my report for tonight. Thank you.
Board Member Villegas?
Thanks, Mary. We did have a lot of fun at the Urban Farm Stand opening up at Yolo High School. There will be 6 Urban Farm Stands opening up throughout West Sacramento, so we're really leading the way in the Farm to Fork, and pretty exciting news with that. We also attended, Alicia and I also attended the scholarship award ceremony last night, and I think all of us want to do something along the lines of some kind of scholarship, because it was very, very cool, and a lot of kids got awarded for a lot of different reasons, and love to get more scholarship opportunities at River City High School. And then lastly, tomorrow starts our big, huge Kaboom Disney Park, Bright Park build. Tomorrow is the prep day, and a lot of you are showing up Sunday. We actually have 350 volunteers already signed up, and we expect about 500 people to be working on Sunday, and we're super excited about that opportunity. It's 10 years in the making. A lot of folks right here on this board have worked for that park, and it's talk about collaboration. It's the school district, it's a city, it's Disney, it's Kaboom, and a lot of community groups. So we're super excited about that opportunity. So hopefully we'll see you all there. Right?
Thank you. Board Member Alcala?
Okay, thank you. The Kinder to College event was fantastic. Mary made certificates for all the kindergarten students. It's And yes, there were over 100 certificates she had to make out. So thank you so much on behalf of all of us. And also, they had, the kids were really excited because they had games out there for them. They had the mascot from Sac City College. So it was a wonderful opportunity, also for the YOLO students. They sort of buddied with the kindergartners. It was a wonderful event, real community effort there. Tomorrow, I get to go and visit with the Penguins tomorrow. I know Sarah's been out there, and a lot of the board members have, so I'm really looking forward to that. Get up early and go out and meet with the kindergartners. Yesterday, I had an opportunity to attend a really wonderful educational forum. It was called Stories from the Schoolyard, Perspectives of Superintendents. And there were 3 Sacramento superintendents, as well as our own YOLO superintendent from Woodland Schools, Dr. Maria Armstrong. And they shared information on new policies, practices, and resources to help bridge the preparation and achievement gap. One of the statements she made, and it really resounded with me, was she said, "The self-esteem of a student is critical to their success in school and in life. It is incumbent that districts implement policies that will support this charge." And my final item to report on is I wanted the seniors to know over at the high school that there are scholarships available from the California Latino Legislative Foundation, Caucus Foundation. And their website is www.cllcf.org. And the deadline for that is June 1st. There are 25 scholarships available at $1,000 apiece. And that's it.
Thank you. Board Member Kirby Gonzalez.
Hi, well, you all know this is a busy time of year at the end of the school year. I think probably we're all getting just a few hours of sleep and working way too many hours of the day, and it's hard to even keep track of all the fabulous events that are going on. And so I just want to give a shout out. We've done it before to the River City High School Facebook and to the Washington Unified Facebook page who runs that, because that really is a great way to see those constant updates. There's so much going on, so much good. It's hard to even share it all. So I appreciate looking there. And I wanted to let Deborah know that for Classified Week, I'm a little late because my own students were promoting this week, so I'll be in next Monday doing my job shadow, a little bit late, but looking forward to it, and appreciate the ACE program that you spoke to earlier. I also want to point out on our agenda that I'm happy about is that we will be revisiting our graduation requirements. So it's on future agenda items that we will be revisiting that and looking at where we go from there. And I also wanted to say thank you for bringing to our attention the music program and departments. I've certainly seen the amazing things that can happen when students are cultivated and when they are really spending time with exceptional staff who's working with them in the music department, starting in 3rd, 4th grade all the way up. And so thank you for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately or unfortunately, I'm going to be kind of wordy here tonight. I apologize. It's the last meeting before I don't get to see you guys until end of August. So first, I'd like to take the time to thank all of the board for all the events we've been able to make. It's been great that we've been able to be out there at as many events as possible. We miss some now and then, but we do our best. And I know there's no possible way that we can get to all of them, but it's just been great to see us all at the various events, and not all of us at the same one, so that's great. I too have attended many events. It seems like I just happen to be at the right place in the right time, and there's an event, so I pop in. But I did attend the Honor Band concert, in which Mr. Marvelli's previous teacher directed our students, and that was a great treat to see that. And I didn't get to see Mr. Pearsall, but he was my old music teacher, so I know he was there. Some of my co-board members here, we went out to Food for Families on Urban Farm, the breaking at the YOLO. And again, I'd like to thank Rayleigh's and the Center for Land-Based Learning for the great partnership. And the publicity. We were on TV, if you guys didn't see that. But we're getting a lot of good publicity, and we're anxious. If you get a chance, you should go out there, because it's not a small garden. It's a very large garden out there in great spot. So I look forward to that partnership. We did attend the service awards. As Mary said, hundreds of years of service. I mean, the ones that are retiring had great smiles on their faces, but it was a great event. I did my ACES program. I had a great event over at Westmore Oaks. I was in the cafeteria, and I know that morning, I was there in the morning serving breakfast, and it was up to about 300 children for breakfast, and that was really amazing. The kids, not so happy, some in the morning, but it was a great experience to see. And the staff was just wonderful. I mean, they made a fabulous green chili burrito for lunch, you know, and it brought me back to the days where all I got was a frozen one, so it was very good. We attended the senior scholarships last night. I attended last year. I always encourage people to go. I encourage our local businesses to join in and help too. We had some local businesses donate, our Rotary clubs. The most heartwarming for me was, and it was actually kind of emotional, I kept leaning over to Katie going, that was my teacher, that was my teacher. Unfortunately, many of my teachers have passed, and it was heartwarming to see that they're still giving. So I really would like to see this board, past board members, and anyone else who would like to join in, start donating to a school board scholarship, so we can, as a board, also issue scholarships to students. So I make that challenge to the past school board members, and anybody else that would like to join. We'd love to get that going, because there was just so much money given out there. We have so many wonderful kids, so many different avenues in life they're going. It was just a wonderful place to go. I also wanted to let the board know that I received an invitation to creating livable communities for all ages, and it's going to be June 25th from 8:15 to 12 at the River Cat Stadium, and it's a round-table discussion that the city is putting on. So I think Board Member Kirby Gonzalez will be going to represent us, and anyone else that wants the information. Love to have you out there. And I just want to reflect on the experience this year with the board. And as board members, we often have to make decisions that affect many people, not only students, but parents, staff, and the district as a whole. And we must be equal, and we have to be fair in our decisions while being bound by the policies and the procedures. One of the most important things I appreciate with this board is the consideration we take in making those decisions. I believe we are consistent, fair, sympathetic, policy-abiding, and we're not rubber stampers. We take all the situations brought before the board very serious, but there are also policies and procedures we must abide by as a governing board. Throughout the year, policies and procedures are not agreed with, but they are followed. And I appreciate when students, staff, parents, and other stakeholders point out that our policies have a flaw, or maybe we should revisit our policies or even create new ones. And sometimes it's not easy, as we usually have full agendas. Information must be obtained and presented to the board, and maybe it does take us 3 hours to get through it, but we always do get through it in a courteous and professional manner, usually. We also have governance policies and procedures when putting together our agenda, and if we don't follow those rules, someone will accuse us of not following them. So to keep us on track and not to congest our meetings, the board and staff, we created strategic priorities, and that helps us guide our agenda. And finally, I would like to thank all of you for taking the time out to visit the district website. In particular, what's on the website now, I don't know if the board members visited, is the LCAP announcement, and there's a draft of the Local Control Accountability Plan for 2015-16, 2016-17, 2017-18 school years, and it's posted. So I encourage all the stakeholders, parents, students, staff, and community to take a look at it and comment on it or ask questions if you feel it's appropriate. And I know that was a lot, but hopefully you all took notes. Scott, did you have anything? Okay. We are to information discussion items. Item number 1, update of Washington Unified School District anti-bullying program and the California Healthy Kids Survey. Is that Jerry?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. We have 4 consecutive reports tonight, so I'm going to try to make this fairly quick. Mine is one that is filled with a significant amount of good news, but a couple pieces of information that I think are of concern to all of us, and I want to make you aware of it. So we can kind of start working towards that. We've titled our presentation School Climate. It's a combination of what we're doing with the anti-bullying program and then also some of the results that we got from the California Healthy Kids Survey. You have received in hard copy form a little bit more detailed synopsis of the California Healthy Kids Survey that you can go through in a little more depth later on. And if you have some questions, you can certainly feel free to give me a call and ask. As you know, we have started 2 years ago in 12-13 where we didn't have a great amount of coordination to what we were going to try to do with our anti-bullying program. The board at that time, which many of you were members of, made a determination to put restoration funds towards anti-bullying in the district, and we've started heading in that direction in a real hard way. In 13-14, last year when I first got here, we were just starting the process, and we had Kevin Bracey come in with the Reach One Alliance starting at River City High School, and we also worked with the Oveus program, which was recommended to us at the elementary level. What we found during the course of the year last year, along with the peer mediation that's at the high school, is that the Bracey's program was just going really, really well and was getting a big buy-in, but the Oveus program was very hard on teachers at the elementary level with all the new things they were having to do with the beginning of Common Core. It said it was very classroom-based, and it was really tough on them, so we were looking for a little help. So at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we talked to Kevin about how he thought that he might be able to infuse the Reach One program that he was using in San Juan in our district. We were the very first 2 districts that this program ever came to, and now he has 14 districts. Matter of fact, to the point where he's not available in all of them, but part of the gig with us is that the promise is that he will always be ours. He's going to have to hire other speakers along the way, but San Juan and ourselves get him first from now on because we were the first 2 to buy into his program. So this year we took it to the 6-8 level, and it went really, really well at our K-8 programs. Kids loved it. He just got a great way of connecting with the kids and bringing a good message to them. The Reach One Alliance is now at each one of our elementary schools, 6-8, and also at Elkhorn this year, at the end of the year, we actually tried a first-time program for him with the K-5, which he is going to take to our entire district next year. Within the next 2 board meetings, I'm going to be bringing you an MOU from him for services for next year, and it will include the infusion of K-5 so that every student in the district will be a Reach One student, and hopefully by the time that they get through elementary school and get to the high school, they'll know exactly what's going on and what direction we're going with our program. Some of the results in the last year and a half, we have 45% drop in suspected bullying reports district-wide. I think that's just outstanding. Does it mean that we're there yet? It doesn't mean we're all the way there, but we're really making some good strides and doing some good things for kids. Also, some of the things that go along with the anti-bullying, also with some of the social work we're doing, our suspension expulsions are down significantly. I'm going to bring you exact numbers on the June 28th meeting. We have to finish school next week and then tally the information. I'm going to say this, and I'm always leery when I do, but I think we're going to set a district record as long as we can get through next week smoothly. So far this year, we've had 2 expulsions. 4 years ago, you had 58. So we're going in a good direction, you guys. We have good kids, and I think they're buying into a lot of things we're trying to do. Where we're going next year, once again, Reach One Alliance will continue at the high school, go to this K-8 program all the way through K-5 now with the Reach One Alliance there. Teacher training, the Reach One skills with lesson plans that go along with the K-5. We've given you a couple examples. That was developed by our Student Services Department along with Kevin to help him start the K-5 program because we do want to do it through the classroom, but we don't want to make it a burden on the teachers. So we're starting to develop lesson plans that they can mix in with their core program as well. And then, of course, plans to increase parent participation now, and that will be part of his contract with us next year, tying in the anti-bullying there. Now, the next portion is about the California Healthy Kids Survey. The data that we received gave us a couple of things that are a concern. I'm just going to be straightforward with you. Students described that they have felt a connectedness that has decreased over the last 2 years since the last time we took it. They don't feel like the work seems as meaningful, fewer expectations. They say that the adults aren't listening to them, and adults don't believe in student success. This is district-wide, and it's a breakdown of lots of different questions, but there does seem to be somewhat of a disconnect. We've kind of thought about why some of this would be. I think some of it is caused by the fact that some of the Common Core processes have teachers not necessarily being so connected with kids sitting on stage and working with them like they used to, but asking the kids to do a lot of the work. And it's put all of us, whether it's administrators, teachers, classified, et cetera, in a little bit different situation with the kids. So we're going to have to continue working on it. But it's something I think we need to keep an eye on. The most significant piece of information that we received, district-wide, but certainly most at the 9-12 level, is that there seems to be, at least according to kids, and I think they're pretty honest with us, increased use in illicit drugs in the last 3 years. The portion there where it talks about cocaine, LSD, meth, ecstasy, and prescription drug use, it's all bunched into one thing in the California Healthy Kids Survey. But talking to some of my counterparts within the Sacramento region, also in a little bit more north in the Bay Area, they're all seeing the same results on their Healthy Kids Survey, but most of it, and it seems to be, according to West Sac PD, a lot of it seems to be related to prescription drug use. The kids are finding that real easy access to prescription drugs, and mostly through their homes, and they're not making good decisions. Simple as that. So I have a couple ideas. One of them I'm going to be bringing into you in July after talking to Superintendent Luna. If she feels like this is the direction we want to go, I am going to bring you a proposal about the possibility of looking at working with a detection canine unit at our schools. I think it's real appropriate. I've done it a lot before as a high school principal. I think it works very well. It's not necessarily out there to bust kids, but it is a great deterrent. And it's the only way that with some of these drugs that we can find them. It's not like marijuana where you can smell it, or alcohol where you can smell it or see it. A lot of times some of these drugs are on campus and you can't find them unless you have some type of detection, and usually it's canine form. So we'll talk about that in July if that's okay with you. I'll bring you some type of proposal. Continued strategies for improvement. I think we're doing some really great things with the support you've given us for our social service team, and along with the anti-bullying program. Continue our work with law enforcement. We'll have 2 SROs again next year. We're losing our one from the high school who's retiring, Officer Kirkland, but Officer Bowers will be with us, and we're working with the police department to kind of rearrange our schedule a little bit to make it more enticing to police officers there to apply. At first, with our regular schedule of 5/8s, the way we're doing it for all the officers, there was one officer that might be interested, maybe. I just talked to the sergeant at the police department today. With maneuvering our schedule a little bit, still getting the same amount of service, but maneuvering things a little bit, they may have up to 12 officers that will be applying for the other position now. So I'm really excited about that. Training with our students and our families, continuing on with Kevin. Social emotional support, I bragged about this over and over again, the support you've given us and what it's done for our social service team. I'm going to give a little kicker here. Tonight you're going to hear about the LCAP plan, and I am knowing that there is some recommendation to go with a little bit more social work help as well. I'm going to say please do it, but I can't make you, but I'd love to have that. Kevin, of course, with our Reach One Alliance down the road. A couple pieces of good information. It doesn't make sense necessarily. Student connectedness indicate the students feel that the adults do care for them, though. There's one question, it's huge. They thought that 98% of the kids said that they might not have connectedness all the time, but they know the adults care about them. So that's a real positive sign. There is a decrease, according to statistics, in the use of marijuana, alcohol, binge drinking, inhalants, cigarettes, and smokeless tobacco. I don't think that would count for e-cigarettes. They become real popular again. Decrease in safety and mental health concerns. I think this is tied to our social service team and also the anti-bullying work we're doing. A decline in harassment kids are reporting. Cyberbullying decline. Over 90% of the students in this district feel very safe at school, and suicide ideation has gone down significantly in the last 3 years. So I think on the whole, we're heading in the right direction. At the last page, I kind of just talked about if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl, but whatever you do, keep moving forward, and I think we are moving forward in the right direction here. And I appreciate the support you're giving the student services team to let those things happen. Any questions?
Any questions or comments from the board?
I just have one question.
Yes.
Are you using the same criteria for the suspensions and expulsions that has always been used?
Always, yeah, same exact criteria. We have the discipline matrix that's gone through. We have gone to the point of starting to do more restorative practices and making that part of our process. I just think kids are, on the whole, making better decisions. Doesn't mean that they're down all the way. You'll see the numbers that there's still suspensions. But I think that kids are starting to get the idea, and we're also looking at different ways to attack it instead of just automatically sending them home from school. But if they do have some discipline issues, making those things happen on the school campus.
I just want to say good job, Jerry. Thanks again for all of your hard work, and
Thanks.
we're so proud of you. You've done great, and we love Tony Bracy and all the work that he's doing, and to hear that the social workers are doing their job. And I hear from our clients and our families and students that they do feel supported. So, and they're
Great.
getting the services that they need,
Thank
more
you.
services.
I appreciate that, but it's really not Jerry. It's a whole group, and it starts there. But I appreciate that. That's nice.
You're here.
Yeah, I get to represent everybody. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of people doing a lot of great things, and it's exciting. I think we're going in a real good direction here. I think when we gave the presentation down in Pasadena in the early spring, there were a lot of districts wanting to know how we were doing things throughout the state about how we're working with our social service groups. So that's a real nice thing.
Board Member Leland?
Yes.
I just want to echo, great job. Love hearing what our social workers and those resources are so important, I know, to me, and just looking again at the whole child. I think it's so important that we're walking our talk in that area. One question I have, and it sparked the question, I'm not saying it's happening here, but you mentioned the canine detection.
Yes.
And I'm really aware of a national group in Texas. It was my hometown where they do most of the training for the animals that go through that program. And we had that in all of our high schools, and it was very successful. So that's not really an issue. My question is that I never want to have a high school principal come to a board meeting and it be the first time that they've heard something that we're thinking about or doing. And so I'm just wondering, and I know we have Stan in the audience tonight, but it's an example. Again, it's just an example. Have we been able to
Discuss
work
it?
with the high school?
Absolutely, absolutely. As a matter of fact, we've been discussing it for about 6 months, even prior to the results of the high school, to the Healthy Kids Survey. We thought that there's something we might be able to impose, bring on into the program this year. It didn't work out, but we'd like to bring it in a little bit more detail and see if we could do something like that.
That's an important part of the discussion. I mean, you were trying to get us through, but,
Yeah.
we all want to know, our site managers are very important to us, and the work that they do as principals is awesome. I just have to say that. And I'm not saying it because I'm staring at you, Stan. You do a great job.
Yeah.
But, when we're thinking about new things and new ideas, so glad that you mentioned that this has been discussed with them. And
Absolutely. Not only the administration, but actually we've had a talk with the faculty about it. And give a presentation. And that's huge because significantly at the high school, they're going to have to be a big part of that if we're going to try to make this thing work, if that's something you guys decide we want to go in that direction.
So
I can tell you, my past experience has been really positive with them.
Great.
I just wanted to make one more comment. I noticed it said lower expectations, and I mentioned that I had attended this educational forum. All the superintendents believed that we have to have higher expectations from the students. We can't be making excuses from them. They come from this socioeconomic background. These are the problems. I mean, it's important to be cognizant of those things.
Absolutely.
But if we demand more, we're going to get more.
I agree. I was happy to hear your thoughts about the self-esteem thing because it really ties with a lot of things we're trying to do, for sure. Thank you very much.
We have Board Member Kirby Gonzalez.
You're
Don't go away.
sorry.
I assume, but I just want to check the data when it compares on the Healthy Kids Survey, 7th grade to 7th grade. These are every 7th grade student. So for example, how am I wording it? Sorry, I'm very tired. Each new group of kids that comes through is the 7th grade. So we're comparing this year's 7th grade to a few years ago.
That is correct.
So I just wanted to be aware of that as we look at these numbers, because that always makes it, as you know, difficult, because kids don't come in a perfect package of the same thinking and the same mindsets. And so
Absolutely.
as we look at the changes, these are different kids.
It's one of the SKUs of the entire Healthy Kids survey statewide that they've talked to them about maybe looking at trying to rearrange the testing so that you test the kids when they're 7th grade, question them in 7th grade, and then also have that same group get questioned 2 years later instead of an offshoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be nice to know whether things were changing. And then one piece I would say is your PowerPoint. Is this online right now on the district website, or could it be on the?
Can be.
I think that would be very helpful
No
to be
problem.
on the district website. And I know I've been seeing on public forums and other places, people talking about bullying and what's happening. And the easier we make it for them to find out and find the information. And you mentioned Elkhorn has been having Kevin Bracey for his. And so the more that we get that out, that more is happening than it ever has in those pieces and with social workers, the better. So I'd appreciate
Totally
that.
agree.
And I do think that there is learning curves as new curriculum comes in and kids get used to different mindsets and ways of thinking, and it makes it challenging for sometimes to get the data of what they're thinking. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.
And last one, the police officers, I wanted to just bring up, as you talked about the places they go, the partnership with them would be huge too on the prescription drug piece, because we just need that partnership so the parents and the community are getting those. They need classes to be informed. I mean, if that's where the prescription drugs are and they're at home, then we need to make sure that we're all working together to educate and have some good partnerships with them, and hopefully the police with some grant writing and other resources they have. So
I'm excited about the school resource situation, especially with the number of officers that came out of the woodwork here on this thing. So
good. It's a
excited.
hard thing to convince them to want
Absolutely,
to do
it's a big change.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute.
Wait. What about me? Alicia, can I just
I'm
add-
sorry, everybody. I was trying to
What
keep
about
this short.
Katie? Katie wants to
You're
add
right.
some
You're
more.
right.
It's a hot topic.
It is a hot
Yes.
topic.
Did you want to add some more?
I do, just quickly. I've actually talked to our police chief and as part of the Child Abuse Prevention Council about a way for families to get rid of prescription drugs. And that's actually a waste management issue, and you can dump it, but we have to drive all the way to Davis, Woodland, out that way, to drop them off at the site. So other communities have had drop sites, and we take a requirement with a police officer and stuff like that. But advertising more of those days so there's less prescription drug use.
I think it would be huge around here. There's some really concerning things going on with prescription drugs with a lot of the kids.
Yeah, good for you. And I had one other one, but I forgot it, so sorry.
Well, I'm really excited about this because I was one that really was pushing the bullying, a simple thing as to all the sites that did put a little button of some sort on their district site website, just so parents can click on it and find things easy. And love Kevin Bracey. I'm glad we were able to keep him first.
Me too.
Second, maybe San Joaquin second and us first. But the number one thing, one of the number one things that the whole board discusses and the district is safety on our campus. And so I'm glad to see, so many new programs coming forth. I'm glad to see that a lot of our rates are down. I'm glad to see that our kids do think we care. So I really want to thank you for this report.
Good, thank
One
you.
more question.
One more
Yes.
question.
Bilingual officers.
Pardon?
Have bilingual officers applied?
Have what?
Bilingual.
I don't know the answer to that. He didn't say. He just called me today because they were excited that out of nowhere, because we did the hour change and kind of maneuvered some things, it went from 1 applicant to 12.
Yeah, I would really encourage that.
I think it'd be
because-
huge for us.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, I think that's it, Jerry.
Okay, thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Item M2, trimester report card grades, proposal TK to 5. Lynette Campbell?
Good evening, Lynette Campbell, currently the director, soon retiring.
Soon grandmother to be of triplets.
Triplets, yes, that's it. Anyway, I bring to your attention another facet of all the changes we're going through with Common Core, and you can expect more, but this is one that makes a lot of sense. What I'm particularly pleased with about this is the process that brought us to this decision. As we changed the report cards, which we needed to do because the old standards did not align with Common Core standards, we started to hear from teachers that they could use more time in authentically assessing the progress towards the standards and in doing these lengthier instructional activities. And so I began to wonder, was it a few teachers feeling this way or more? So I went to Don Stauffer, WTA president, and I asked him, could he get a reading on the teachers, how they really felt? In the 106 responses we got, 101 wanted trimesters. So after we had evaluated all the other reasons for doing it, we began the process of bringing this into being. So what you have here is the flyer that we intend to have at the ready for all parents. It can be mailed out or handed out. And we also have a sort of combined calendar, you'll see, because we can't currently move the 6th through 8th grades to trimesters because of the way electives need to be handled, and we have very small staffs. And when you have sole teacher departments, they don't have the same flexibility. So this will be a TK through 5 arrangement for trimesters, but 6-8 will remain on the semester system. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Ms. Kirby Gonzalez, any questions? I know.
I just really appreciate this. It was kind of mind-boggling to me how much time people were spending. You know, report cards take hours and hours and hours, and add to that conferences and everything else. And so this seems like a very fair, to me, compromise. I wonder, do 6 to 8 staff need more time? Do we need to look at release time or anything like that? Or is there going to be any inequity, I guess, it would be my question, with this move from TK5 and 6-8?
Well, hopefully, as we're trying it with TK through 5, the 6 through 8 can reflect on it and see if there is a fit for them. It would change how electives are handled and when the shifts occur from one class to another class. So that's always a confound when you have middle school or secondary school.
But maybe then we could look at for them maybe a professional development day or something to maybe help accommodate them to have more time if they were doing more.
I see, just having more time.
That's what
yes.
I was thinking, if they keep it.
That's a good idea.
Maybe that those staff meetings get waived for them to do this one, you know, once or something.
I'll put that in my transition notes, shall I?
Anyone else? No? Thank you.
And by the way, thank you. I have really appreciated the opportunities here. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And your grandbabies. Item number 3, the 2015-16 Local Control Accountability Plan and 2014-15 Annual LCAP Update.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gwen Dillinger, and this is my first opportunity to present to the board. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to be, my PowerPoint coming in. I'm really excited to be presenting the new template for the Local Control Accountability Plan and the annual update tonight. Oh, there's my PowerPoint.
I'm not sure if it's you or the microphone, but you're cutting out a little.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Better.
I was so worried that my PowerPoint wasn't coming up. I was distracted. So I'm hoping that this presentation will give you some context to the new template that's just come out a couple of months ago. I personally like it a lot better. I think it's a lot more streamlined and easier to understand, and I hope that you find it to be easier to understand as well. We hope that you will, after this presentation, have a complete understanding of the process we went through in developing the LCAP this year. So I just want to build a little background, and many of you probably have a lot of this background already, but I just wanted to review a little bit before we dive into the new template. As you know, Governor Brown instituted a monumental change in education funding last year. The new state funding system, Local Control Funding Formula, aka LCFF, another one of our acronyms, strives to restore school districts to pre-recession funding levels, provide additional supports to students identified as English learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged, and foster youth, and to allow flexibility for budget decisions at the district level rather than restrictive pots of funding. So LCFF is the funding side of the initiative. The next kind of layer is a local control accountability plan, and that's the program side of the equation. It provides accountability, transparency, and the mechanism for stakeholder collaboration. I think Nancy Burnell said it best. I went to a presentation that she did at State Board. She said, the plan is meant to ensure that all students learn what they need to know and do to be successful in life, having been well taught by competent professionals in adequately resourced schools that are responsive to student needs. So that's the ultimate goal as according to State Board of Education. It's a 3-year plan revised annually with specific metrics included. One of the really positive aspects of the LCAP is that the specific metrics are identified by local districts. So we don't have an outside entity telling us what our students need and what they need to meet. Local districts make the metrics. So when Jerry was talking about where we are with school climate, we can take those metrics and use them to improve on what we're doing. So instead of saying 50% decline in let's say, expulsions, well, so then we're down to 1, and that would be wonderful, or do we maintain where we're at? So whereas another district may have 100 expulsions and want a different metric. So as I said, the locally defined metrics give districts flexibility to meet the needs of their students. Finally, the LCAP annual update, AKA annual update, that's the 3rd layer, and that's come along this year. Requires districts to reflect on the previous year's plan by looking at the locally defined metrics and assessing if those targets were met. If not, why not? What went well? What needs are ongoing? What changes should be made? You will see the annual update included in the new template. So let's begin looking at the 2015-16 plan. Oh, I got too many clickers. So there are many aspects that went into developing this 3-year plan beginning with 2015-16. First and foremost are the needs of our students, and those needs are captured in the WUSD Board strategic policies, the 2014-15 annual update, community feedback, including teachers, parents, principals, and students. So that's a huge piece of this. The next part is that when you had to meet state guidelines, including the 8 state priorities, and I have them in that little wheel. It's hard to read from here, but hopefully you can read it better. So those are basic services, access to courses, implementation of Common Core state standards, parental involvement, student achievement, student engagement, school climate, and other student outcomes. The good news is that we're aligned. The board policy, board strategic priorities, the LCAP priorities, and these 8 state priorities, they fit really, really well together. So then we have to look at resources. We have to look at the state guidelines, what Yolo County Office of Education is expecting from us, and how we're going to use those supplemental concentration funds to meet the needs of our targeted students needing extra support, essentially English learners, foster youth, and socioeconomically disadvantaged students. So I will kind of get into the template now, and it is posted on our website. Thank you for mentioning that earlier. So as I said before, the new template has been revised to be more streamlined. It has 4 sections. The first section is stakeholder engagement, and that's where we described how stakeholders were engaged and what was their impact. So they were engaged, what impact did they have on our plan? You'll see 2 columns, and I'll show you a screenshot. The next section is the actual plan, LCAP 2015-16 through 17-18, with corresponding goals and actions. The third section is the annual update, and the very last section is the supplemental and concentration proportionality justification. There is no accountability rubric currently, although it is in process. Just last week, the state awarded a contract to West Ed to create those rubrics, and they are in process of getting feedback for that. Legislation says those rubrics need to be available by October. The last state board meeting, they were kind of talking to legislators about maybe expanding that deadline given the impact that this rubric will have on all districts. So right now, we don't really have a rubric, but we are getting advice from Yolo County technical assistants on what they're looking for. And what I've noticed is mostly they're looking at our specific metrics and an explanation of each one in the annual update. Finally, this plan will require approval from the Yolo County Office of Education after the board hopefully approves the final plan at the end of June. So as I said before, this is the first section, and we have a table of contents listed on the web to help folks figure this part out. This section right here is the involvement process, and we talk about the parent advisory committee, the various task force meetings we had, the involvement of DLAC and DAC, and the bargaining units, principals, just everyone, even students, played a part in this process. And then on the right-hand side is the impact on LCAP. For instance, many of our stakeholders, as Jerry was talking about, mentioned, we really love the sense of security that the additional outreach consultants and the social workers and Kevin Bracey are providing to our students. We heard that everywhere we went. And you will see that that's an impact on LCAP. It's an impact on where our resources went and what our actions are. So when you read that section, you'll hear more about that. The second section is really the meat of the plan, and that's the LCAP for the next 3 years. You'll see there's a goal, and I just chose goal 2 because it kind of had all the sections for me right there on that screenshot. So goal 2 talks about educational opportunities, and then next to the goal, you'll see these numbers here. That's where we check which of the 8 state priorities are affected by this goal. So is it basic services? Is it student achievement? Is it all of them? So we'll make that determination, and for some reason we didn't do that here yet. And then there's a section that talks about why did you make that goal? What is the need? And it might be that the board has determined that we want to expand our career tech education program, or that business owners are saying, hey, our kids need to be ready to collaborate and they need to have more pathways. So there's a whole section on identified need right there. And then it asks, where does this goal apply? And for the most part, most of our goals apply to all schools, and then which pupil subgroups. So you can see we have English learners, special ed, long-term English learners, low-income foster youth are included in that goal as well. And then you see the expected annual measurable outcomes. So this is us grading us. This is WUSD, how we're going to grade our success next year. This is what we want to see. So in this particular one, we are hoping and expecting that student participation in AVID will increase by 20% from school year 2014-15 to 15-16. So you'll see a list of metrics, and those are based on what we have. And because the state is kind of in flux about accountability, a lot of these are local measures that we'll be looking at next year when we reflect. So if you go down here to the left-hand side, you'll see actions and services. Those are the supports that to achieve this goal and meet these metrics. There's a little parentheses with a bolded word like this one says ed services. That's really where that action kind of stemmed from. This one happens to be from ed services. A lot of times you'll see forums or parents or WTA or students. So it kind of gives us an idea of where that action stemmed. That will come out of the draft. Yolo County doesn't need to see that, but it's just for our own knowledge. And then it asks, what's your scope of service right in the middle? So oftentimes it's district-wide. Sometimes it pertains only to the high school. I think that it's either district-wide or high school most of the time. And then it talks about, is this for all students or specific subgroups? So after LCAP year 1, right following that, you'll see LCAP year 2, LCAP year 3 under one goal. When that's done, you'll get to the next goal. We still have 5 goals. They remain from last year. Our stakeholders were very clear that don't implement a program and take it away before we find out if it's really working. So the goals stay the same. They seem to be well received. The next section is annual update. This is really the looking in the mirror piece. How did we do? What are we going to change? What worked? So the way the template is organized is there's the original goal from LCAP last year. It's right here. So this is the high quality teaching and learning goal. Again, what priorities did it hit? What schools? What subgroups? And then last year in our LCAP, we said that we were going to be watching percent of highly qualified teachers. And this year we discovered that our percentage of highly qualified teachers is 100%. So that's great. And then student access to standards aligned materials. We had a successful Williams audit that is evidence of that taking effect. So there were times when a metric wasn't met, and that was okay. We just have to describe what happened. What can we do next year? Is that something we want to continue to do? For example, there was very aspirational goals for professional development. A lot of professional development happened, but not quite as much as we had anticipated, simply because of lack of substitute teachers and some of the time constraints. So that was refined this year. And the last section, section 4, is very small. It's about a page, and it really talks about how your proportionality of services to those targeted groups, English learners, low socioeconomic, and foster youth, are reflected at a reasonable percentage of the dollars that they generated. So Scott worked really hard on this, and we worked together to create this percentage. And I'm happy to say, I think, Scott, we're at 42 or 46% proportionality. So 42%, we're doing really well there. So just to summarize, the 2015-16 LCAP, I don't know how to go back. How do I go back? I'll just look here. The new LCAP is more streamlined. It recognizes the programs take time to implement effectively, so we're not going to pull programs just because they haven't shown success yet. We think they will. It expands a VAPA program with an additional teacher. I'm just going to give you the highlights because I really want you to dig in when you have time. A student services super team that Jerry talked about is expanded with 2 additional social workers if this plan is approved. Professional development and capacity building is expanded to classified employees. We heard that loud and clear, and it makes so much sense to us. Anti-bullying programs are supported with additional resources. The professional development adds a program specialist position and resources for extra hours and substitutes. That can support some of the things that you were talking about as far as allowing teachers more time. Always need more time, and that comes up again and again as well. Services to English learners including increased professional development, clerical support to free up additional time for English learner intervention specialists to actually spend more time with kids doing what they are best at, and summer programs and intervention for English learners. We continue the foster youth support, and the reason I put that in as expanding is that Yolo County used to reimburse us for that. They're unable to do that next year, but the district has made it a priority to continue with that third of a person who gives her whole self, even though it's a third of her day. Summer programming to include programs for K-12 students. We're looking at that next summer because that is another need that we're hearing over and over and over. And then the implementation of the WUSD technology plan, speeding that along with our innovative educator program and devices getting into the hands of kids. And then, of course, expanding our career technical pathways. Thank you, Angela. So finally, we have a graphic that I think visually gives us a kind of a roadmap of where we're going. Those are the 5 goals. That's the focus, really, on the plan of that all students graduate ready for college and or career. And finally, the timeline. We're here tonight giving you a little preview and context for the draft, which the first read will be presented at the next board meeting. The draft was posted yesterday We haven't received any comments yet, but we're going to be doing some more outreach. We're going to put it on the Facebook page and send it out to our staff with the link saying, please comment, good, bad, or other. We want to hear from you. And then the response to public comment will come June 10th. And then the first read for the board will be the following day on June 11th. It will be presented to you for hopefully approval on June 25th. And then the following Monday will go to Yolo County for their blessing and approval as well. So that's what we're hoping to do. I thank you for your attention, and I'm here for questions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Comments?
You mentioned we're going to have 2 additional social workers. That brings the total to 4.
That's in the plan, yes.
Okay.
If it's approved, yes, 2 additional social workers. So that will bring us to 4.
Fantastic.
Board Member Leland, did you have a comment?
Well, I wanted to thank you for your presentation. I think it is the first time we've heard you present, and that's wonderful. You know, my concern, I think it's a great plan. And so if there's language in here that we think needs to be strengthened or maybe worked on, we can still provide input between now and the next board meeting? Okay.
Absolutely, and I hope you do. You can respond directly to Bill Spalding or to Scott or to myself or through the website. Please comment, you know, good, bad, or other, what you want to see strengthened, what you have questions about. That's what this comment period is really for, and that's why I keep emphasizing this is a draft.
Right, and I didn't have a chance to respond to Tony Marvelli when he came to give public comments, but I see VAPA all over this plan.
Mm-hmm.
But a plan is only as good as we're able to implement it.
Right.
And to hold people accountable
They
for.
can't hear you. I know you're on.
I'm
They
on,
can't hear
I've
you.
just lost my voice.
It's late, it's getting late, you
Sorry.
can't.
Yeah. A plan is only as good as our ability to implement it. And I think even some of the language that I saw around VAPA exposed them to, you know, the arts and music. I don't know if expose is the right word, as far as, you know, really providing, you know, educational activities. It seems, some of that wording seems a little fluffy to me. And that might enable us to, you know, be more conscious about how we're implementing the plan and for us to keep watching that. So I appreciate, Tony, you coming forward because I know you know how important the arts and music are to every one of the board members up here. So we totally support you. It was nice to just see that in a plan. But that's just a small example that we could, provide to you?
Absolutely, provide
individually
some.
Or meet with you? Because I think it's like 700 pages or.
Oh, no, it's only 70 pages this
Oh,
year.
70.
So it went from
I knew it
86 to
was too
70.
many
You
for
kind of
me to
made my
read
heart drop
already.
right there. Because for every page, there's an action or more that we have to actually provide an annual update. So we learned that this year because I think we had, I don't know, like 100 actions
Yeah,
last year.
It just was too many for me
Yeah.
to really print out, and I was kind of reading through it, so I'm glad we have a little bit more time to give you some feedback.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's not 700 pages. I can
As am
certainly
I.
manage 70. Yep.
Ms. Kirby Gonzalez?
Hi. I would have loved to see the feedback from families, from community members. I'm assuming that's somewhere compiled, for example, all the online surveys people did or get some. I looked through this and I know it was informed with community feedback, but I don't really know. You know, I'm taking your word for it, but it would be nice to see a little bit more about what you heard from people, what were some of the pieces that were that people really wanted to see, or maybe I could come to your office and look.
Sure, we have that. We have, everything was typed up from every event. And then we have the survey results too. So we're glad to share that with you. I don't know the best forum, but we'll make that happen. We can make that happen right away.
Perfect, thank you. And then I love seeing like the collaboration with early college prep, about performing arts, a lot of pieces like that. One piece that just stuck to my mind too was it talks about some more of a commitment to GATE. And since gifted and talented education is no longer categorical, of course, it's now on us. It had 2 release days, and the 2 release days, again, to me also felt kind of fluffy because there were 2 release days to brainstorm ideas, yet the overarching idea was to have this very strong program. So I don't see how, I think that could be reworked. 2 days to brainstorm.
Right.
I'd like to see that a little stronger, or maybe we could revisit.
And if you follow the plan along, we're
Yeah.
hoping by year 3, there's definitely something in place. That was one where we're, it would be an exploratory kind of thing next year, because it did come up several times, and looking at, are we going to move the program from Westmore Oaks? It's just a big one. So I think it'll be a very large conversation, and 2 release days is probably not enough. I'm hoping that some folks will be doing it, during work time and things like that, but.
I agree, because we don't even have a clear way to identify kids from my perspective.
We
And so
don't.
if we don't have that host 2 days of brainstorm, if it came up on the survey from families a lot, then I think we need to honor that and be strong with that. And then my other piece that stood out to me right away is the SBAC, and it's hard to see that as a gauge as we go through. I understand it's there. I understand why it's there theoretically, but I think it would be so much stronger to look at benchmark data, how students are moving through benchmark data, how they're moving through something that's truly, really meaningful. I can't comment on it, but I'm probably one of the few people in the room that's seen it, and I would say probably not so meaningful yet. Maybe, hopefully one day it will be. So I just want to make sure that the data we're looking at is strong and meaningful for kids, not just data we're looking at because it's what the federal government's asked us to do.
Right.
For years. And of course, as we look at wanting to be at or above other schools, it's just a system that's set up to have schools failing, right? There's always, if you're going to be in the middle, it's because somebody's at the bottom. So I'd just like an internal benchmark, good program, would be an input. Thank you.
Really quick, something we're always concerned with is communication, coming back, as Sarah said, for stakeholders. And these surveys that went out, they were surveys that went out to the parents in Spanish and in Russian?
Yes.
Languages. Okay, great.
We wish we could have sent them out. We're going to look at next year dispersing them in another way aside from just the website, because there were some families that didn't have access to computers. And so it wasn't an easy document to just print and mail and get surveys back. So we're looking at that for next year, definitely.
Well, thank you for the PowerPoint, and it's easy on the eyes, and I think very easy to understand, so thank you for that.
Thank you all. It was nice presenting to the first time.
Thank you. Welcome. Item number 4, Washington Unified School District Budget Fiscal 2015-16, the LCAP draft number 1.
Good evening. We're in front of you with a budget this year earlier than we ever have been. We're 30 days prior to budget approval, and it is completely driven by the fact that you have an LCAP that was presented to you tonight 30 days prior to it having to be approved. If you recall last year, you saw the LCAP, it was fairly late in the game. 2 weeks later, you had to approve it, and there was very little time for feedback or to know whether or not your budget could support the LCAP plan. So what we're going to go through for you tonight, this will be the first time in my career I've presented a draft budget, and you'll see a draft budget again in 2 weeks and your final budget at the June 25th meeting. So I'm going to go over some highlights of what's happened in the budget. It's an information item tonight so that you can see how it interacts with the LCAP. There is an additional document attached. It's a Word document that line item all items that added up to the $7.7 million that the LCAP and other constraints on the budget are made up of, and you'll be able to provide feedback on that in a couple of weeks, and then we'll make adjustments before we bring you the final budget at the second meeting in June. Which button? We'll try that one. So remind me next time not to use the same color yellow because it looks great on my computer, but it flashes out really bad on this. This is not a real pretty presentation, but it looks fantastic in my office. So big news for the education budget. I'm sure everyone's heard it, that there was an increase in the funding gap, and so there was a whole bunch of additional money that came into the public school system. You have $3.1 billion for 14-15 in the current year. We'll talk about that and show you how that works. It's not actually additional money for the school district. It's additional money that the state gets to count on their books because they wipe out the year deferral of apportionment. There's going to be additional recovery money from Prop 30 taxes that we'll have to talk about as well. Those help increase state revenue this year. Prop 98, you're going to hear a lot about how all the new money that came to the state went to school districts. And it did because school districts right now are in they have a restoration factor for all the cuts in the COLAs that were not funded. So school districts get 90% of the new money. But the new money that rolled through, when you look at it, and I'll bring you a slide in a couple weeks, it's all paid for out of the increase in assessed value in property taxes. So the state's contribution to Prop 98 is very little. So when everybody else says school districts got all the money, they got property tax money. It didn't cost the state's general fund a whole lot of money to fund what Governor Brown put forward in his May revise. Again, gap closure rate went from 32 to 53%. That's a significant amount of money. We went from a little over, I think we showed you $4.2 million funding growth this year to $7.9 million funding growth this year. Average is 14.13 or 1,088 per ADA. Ours is a little bit different. You'll see our specific numbers in our entitlement page. And if it is approved by the legislature, then from the time they started the local control funding formula, they said it'd take 8 years to fully fund it. And this year, which is the third year, they'll be at 70% of funding. And we'll look at that really quick too. Issues of note that were not addressed in the budget. Nothing was done about the increase to the CalSTRS and the CalPERS retirement system and the contribution that has to be made by employers. That increase is going to cost this district over $600,000 this year, and there's no additional funding from the state to cover that cost. So as that money comes in, it goes right back out to the retirement system. Good things that happened is they didn't manipulate Prop 98. They could have. We're in a test 3 year, and they made a deposit into the rainy day fund. But the third qualification for us to have to actually spend down our reserves did not happen yet. So we'll talk in 2 weeks about how you designate your fund balance reserves, because you're not required to spend them down at this point. May happen in a future year, but did not happen this year. And the biggest question is the funding increase affordable by the state. The answer is yes, because of tax growth alone paying for most of the increase in Prop 98. And the repayments of cuts to education are absolutely affordable now, so we're very happy to see that. So this is a good budget. So for us, the major parts of our budget is, again, the revenue projections are based on the LCFF calculator increase by 14.54%. That's what the 53% funding gap increase translates to us as a 14.54% increase in funding. It's the second budget that we have the LCAP. It acknowledges the STRS and PERS, as I said, is about 545 for STRS, 82,000 for PERS. It funds year 2 of the local control accountability plan. It funds year 3 of the visual performing arts plan, and it funds year 2 of the technology plan. Really quick, as we go through and we develop the budget, we work with the LCAP, we keep the board's priorities in mind. This is a snapshot of your priorities for 2015 that you came up with in January, and so we focus on those, and the document that you have that shows the line items refers back to either the board priority or the management agenda item that is being supported by the additional expenditure that is line itemed out. Really quick, I think this is a good graphic to show you the bigger picture in the state. Funding gap went from 32 to 53%. Prop 98, the minimum Prop 98 funding for 14-15 went from 63 to 66 billion, and for 15-16 it went from 65 to 68 billion. So big increases. Everyone said that it was going to be a good year for schools, and it is. One thing we do not have in our budget at this point, because it is unclear how it is going to be allocated to schools, is there is one-time funding for 15-16 that they are saying is discretionary funding and should be used one time in nature. If the dollar amounts are accurate, it's about $600 per ADA, and for this district that'd be $4.2 million. But it is not ongoing, it's one-time money. And so until we see exactly how they're going to move that money forward, we don't have it in the budget. Again, we just got this information last Tuesday and had it posted on Friday, so we didn't have time to go through and see really how this would impact the budget. It will be in the budget at the beginning of June, and obviously by the time we ask for budget approval at the end of June. But one-time money that, again, they're doing similar like they did with the mandate reimbursement, where they said, we can't tell you to use it for Common Core implementation, but it would be a good idea, wink, wink. This is the same thing. They can't tell you what to do with the money, but they're saying it should be used for professional development, for technology, and for Common Core implementation. They are looking at it as a payoff of the past mandate credit card that they've had over the years. So we'll see exactly how that plays out, but there's additional money that we have not put in the budget yet because it's unclear how the district's going to receive it. This is a great slide, again, shows you the growth. I think I said we hit the 70% factor at this point, which is fantastic. That means a couple things. It means we're really close, another 30% we're fully funded, but it also means that there's another 5 years before they have to meet their obligation of funding the local control funding formula in 8 years, which means the growth over the next 5 years could be very, very, very slow. And it's a concern, and we'll talk about it later in the presentation. For the Washington Unified School District, again, the LCF funding per ADA comes out to $8,605 per student. Our projected ADA is not a dollar amount. I apologize for that. It's $7,282.75 ADA. There should not be a dollar sign there, because even though I look at the kids as being little money bags, they're not money in the slide. Multiply the two together, and our projected LCFF revenue, and this is going to be your target, is $62.66 million. So we see the same growth that everyone else in the state is going to see. Quick snapshot here is, again, your target, and I'm sorry, I'm going to go backwards one. Can you make it go backwards? The 62.6 is the, that is the revenue for the entitlement, not for to be fully funded. So I misspoke. So your target is $69.7 million. That is the top chart, top left, and you'll see that we're assuming ADA is flat. We'll talk about why in just a minute, because we consider it to be one of the threats to this budget, or one of the risks to this budget. So we're going to roll ADA forward at 7,282.75 students. That is your actual P2 ADA, and that's what we were funded on for this year. The number was a little soft when we brought you the second interim report because we didn't have the final numbers yet. There were projections, so we did a little bit better than the projection by about, I think it was 20 or 23 kids. The second slide is the entitlement. So you go through the entitlement. We have a 53% funding gap, gives us a $62 million entitlement. That entitlement means we have year-over-year increases in the local control funding formula of $7.956 million, 14.54%. You have a spending plan. That spending plan is detailed, again, in the general fund, which is attached to the budget, and then light items out so you can see specifically what the additional costs are in that particular, in that Word document. It's in 4 different areas. It's the unrestricted general fund ongoing costs that are not required under the LCAP. For this cycle, it's $706,000. There is the unrestricted general fund that is part of the LCAP. That is $2.1 million. Unrestricted general fund ongoing required. This is where you'll see the compensation increases that went to WTA, CSEA. You're going to see the PER stuff. You added a modular building, a Bridgeway item that added 3 classrooms. We had to add 3 teachers to those 3 classrooms. Things like that we really don't have much of a choice on. Those things have to happen in order to fulfill what we already started in 14-15. That's a big number. It's $4.4 million. It's the bulk of the spending plan is those rollover things that are going year after year. And then you have one-time expenditures of $358,000. Total expenditures that are in the budget right now are $7.656 million. So if you look at the general fund that is attached to this this document, you'll see that there is a surplus of $300,000, which is basically the difference in between the expenditures and the new funding increase of $7.9 million. I talked very briefly about discretionary funds. Again, $3.5 billion, $601 per ADA. That's over $4 million for this district. It is not clearly defined how we're going to receive those funds yet. This is the quote that is coming out from them, is that they can be used for any one-time purposes determined by the governing board. For PD, teacher induction, instruction materials, technology, those are their recommendations. It's not a requirement because it is a reimbursement of a prior mandate expense. So just like that $400,000 you designated for Common Core this year, this money is coming in that same format. It will be in your budget in 2 weeks, and you can give us a little bit more direction on what you think we want to do with it. So risks associated with this particular budget, there are several. First one is Prop 98. As it moves forward and you look at the different factors, Prop 98 is going to slow down. The state does have and has shown in the past that they have the ability to manipulate Prop 98. They've suspended it and not used it at all. And so I think one of the things we have to make sure we pay attention to is the fact that we only have a 30% factor remaining to fully fund the local control funding formula, and they have 5 years to do it. So if funding starts to slow down, you could see a decrease in the pace that we have been receiving money. Normally, growth dollars in a year where there's not a restoration to school districts is about 40%. We were receiving 90%. Once the local control funding formula is fully funded, it's going to become even different because you'll be funded on COLA increases, and the COLA this year was only 1.02%. So I think that is the most significant risk is trying to stay ahead and pay attention and know and predict that slowdown a little bit, make sure that we don't get caught with the slowdown after we're moving forward fast and furious. Another issue or concern for this budget is the potential decline in enrollment. As you know, we have 2 new charter schools in the district. We do have some information from one of them. The other one we have no information from at all, which is why our revenue in our projection is flat. We should be growing by anywhere from 150 to 200 students next year. Depending on what happens with the charter schools, our growth could be 0. So we're going to be conservative until school starts and we actually see what happens with the enrollment in the charter schools, and then we'll come back at first interim and make adjustments accordingly. And then the other concern is the Prop 30 the Prop 30 tax expiration, which comes up in 8/16, and the governor said more than once it's a temporary tax, and so I don't expect you'll see the governor push this tax to be extended. Doesn't mean that the legislature wouldn't, but I don't see it being championed by the governor. He continues to say that was a temporary tax and he's not going to bring it back. So the next steps for this budget, again, we presented it in a draft format tonight, and primarily to illustrate that you can support what is in the LCAP and what Gwen and her team have brought forward. It is very fundable. We'll bring it back again June 11th with additional updates and additional information. Again, we had some of our charts and everything that we received. We got them last Tuesday, so we've actually only worked with this data for 72 hours. So lots more work to go, and it'll come back for adoption June 25th. Also, at the June 11th meeting, you're going to have 2 new things that you didn't have before. You normally have your public comment or your public hearing for the budget at the same meeting that the budget is done, which would have been June 25th. Your public hearing has to be at a separate meeting than the meeting that you adopt the budget. So you'll have a public hearing on the 11th, and within that public hearing, you're going to see the components of ending fund balance, anything that's above the state required or the state minimum reserve, we have to line item out and show you, and you guys have to decide how you want to allocate that money and what you want to see happen with that money within your budget. So we'll bring that document to you for the first time. You'll be able to make some comments on it. We can then roll it into the final budget on the 25th of June. That was a lot very fast. Any questions?
Board Member Lee?
When you talk about the one-time money that's coming in, and we'll have to make some decisions on, what we want to do with that particular pot of money, are you going to also bring forward a process, a series of needs, sort of kind of work with us on that like we've done in the past?
Yeah, it's something that we're going to work on in between now and the next meeting and the meeting on the 25th. There's several things that we've talked about before. We've talked about, transportation needs. There's a survey that they're going to come in, they're going to look at the fleet. We're hearing from the sites the needs for additional furniture. The furniture that the board approved, we sent out to a couple places as far as a pilot, and we're getting fantastic feedback to the point where one classroom split part of it between two different teachers at one site, and they're coming back and going, can we fill out both classrooms now? So there are a lot of needs that we can identify that the board can look at doing. We talked about getting all of the technology for the tech plan and funding that up front. And I think when we do that, we should put it into a fund balance and designate it over a period of years, because if you buy all the technology today, but you don't have the training and everything else, it's 2 years before it really gets used. You now have 2-year-old equipment. So if we come up with a plan, I'll work with Kim and her group to go, if you had all the computers, how much would it cost? And then realistically, the training and the teacher time to be able to get up to speed, how many years do you need to cycle through? And then we'll put it on this fund balance plan that says we're going to spend X dollars over the next Y years to meet a particular goal. And that's what you'll see. It's a single-page document. It's not going to be very complex, but I don't have that specific, you were talking about that board policy.
I know we don't have a shortage of needs, but I was just, wondering how we were going to process all the competing needs.
Yeah, I think we'll bring as many as we can to you. I think you'll be looking at higher-end needs. And I think with the amount of money that you see in that undesignated part of the unrestricted general fund, some of these higher needs are very, very expensive, and you'll only need a few of them to hit that dollar amount if that's what you choose to do. Because the computers themselves, it's a couple million. Furniture's a couple million minimum. So as you see those and you think how you want to work through that plan, we'll work on those dollar amounts. And that's not even including this new money for 15-16. It's the money that's sitting in fund balance today. So you're going to have 2 opportunities to look at that.
Good. That's all. Thank you.
Any comments? Reverend Gonzalez?
Thank you. And as we look at that, I want to just remember, I guess, the philosophy of why the one-time money would be coming one time too, and that PD right now, transitions are so essential. And to me, what's happening in the classroom right now is critical, and people are feeling like they need more, of those good, ongoing, quality resources for their kids. So that would be a priority for me. And then can I just ask, you said updates. I know it's a big impact. We think about hiring, and it is a concern if we miss the hiring window, and people are getting picked up and whatnot for teaching positions. Can you clarify which charter schools given information to the district on their enrollment?
Yeah, the enrollment came from Lighthouse.
Thank you.
So they did communicate back.
Thank you. Okay, so the other one might be a communication with YOLA, with the County Office of Education, maybe. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Also, you mentioned June 25th, giving us the draft list of items and priority as needed. Is there any way we can get that a little bit earlier?
No, the hope on, if you're talking about the fund balance, and the
Yes.
priority part for fund balance will come to you on the 11th.
On the 11th.
And then you'll approve it with your budget on the 25th. But you have to have that on the 11th as part of the public hearing for the budget and for fund balance. It's part of the.
Because if I remember right, last year it took us a few meetings to go through an itemized list of things that were important to us. So I just want to make sure we can get that, even if it's a draft, so we can get started on it as a board, so we don't have to spend, so we can meet the guidelines and the deadlines.
I can work on that.
Okay.
We'll get
Not
that to you ahead
tomorrow.
of time.
Not tomorrow.
Well, that is tomorrow.
Quick question. Yes.
What was the enrollment for Lighthouse this year?
The number that I recall was 145. I don't, and it's TK2. I don't know what the breakdown was.
And you said you didn't have the one for?
It is Epic. No, I have no data on Epic.
Okay. I think that's it. Thank you.
No other questions?
I think that's it.
Okay, thank you.
We're on action items. Number 1, to approve the tentative agreement with California School Employee Association, CSEA. there any questions or comments or motions?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Item number 2, AB 1200, disclosure of the CSEA salary enhancement for fiscal 2014, 2015, and 2015, 2016. Any questions, comments, or motions?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item number 3 is to approve the memorandum of understanding between the River City High School Booster Club and the Washington Unified School District, and I will be recusing myself from this item. Ms. Kirby Gonzalez?
Any discussion or questions? Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second then.
Okay. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item number 4, to approve the Board of Education meeting calendar for 2015-16. No comments this year?
So moved is what I was going to say.
I'll second it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Consent items. There's no comments or questions. Can I get a motion to approve the consent items?
So moved.
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Board governance. I actually have a few comments real quick tonight. The first thing I'd like, if the board hasn't already done it, can you guys please provide to Angela the best emails to use that you would check regularly? Because I understand sometimes we're not checking them as quickly as we might our personal emails or something, and so sometimes we have sensitive items that aren't getting read timely. So if you guys can provide those to Angela, she may already have them, but just a disclaimer. Also, I talked to our incoming superintendent, and I checked with Angela, and we'd like to schedule a governance collaboration cabinet review special board meeting on July 11th. I don't know what your schedules are like. Huh?
I'm out of the state.
You're out of the state?
I'm good.
July
I have
11th?
to check my calendar.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm in New York.
We only have one board meeting in July, so that's why I was picking that, and it was kind of about 2 weeks after the new superintendent's on board.
I'm available.
Everybody's available, but
I'm sorry, what date is that again?
it's a Saturday, July 11th.
Yes.
I'm looking at 9 to 3. I know Assistant Superintendent Landsberg is not available either, but if you want, we can go ahead without you. We can
Yeah, you
update
can.
it.
That's fine.
Okay.
Are you there during the week? No, yeah, the whole week, July 9th through the 16th, with my high school girlfriends.
Okay. So we'll look at July 11th, and we'll hopefully send it for that day. And it'll be a special board meeting in the morning. It's the hopes that the assistant superintendents would give us an update, especially to the incoming superintendent of where we've gone over the last year, and the next few months where we're going. And then we would do some governor's work ourselves with her. So, also, what we had worked on, and I talked to Superintendent Luna again, is we'd like to host some reception, some public reception, so the community can meet her. And what a great opportunity we thought for the National Night Out on August 4th. I know we are looking to put in our paperwork with the city, and hoping to have something out on the district lawn out front with her barbecuing skills, her husband's barbecuing skills, and maybe a bounce house. And it's a day all of West Sacramento celebrates anyway, so we thought that might be a good day to incorporate that. So earmark your calendars for August 4th, and all the plans are coming in. And I don't know if anyone else has anything on governance.
I don't know if student board member would fall under board governance, but that might be something to revisit or to
Okay.
look at for us. Or if our student board member isn't here, if we can have somebody still read the update, if there's an update given for schools.
Or maybe we should have 2 student board members, an alternate.
backup. Yeah, we'd like to see a student government, one of our students come back and join us. So I don't know if that's leadership, Stan left. I don't know who we can contact, but we are really pleased to have somebody here giving us those updates.
Dana had suggested maybe kind of like an application process instead of just kind of appointing one person, and so that we can kind of make sure that their interest is really there going forward, and actually there's a little more of a commitment.
Okay. And maybe we could identify a backup too.
Yeah, definitely. So for our future board agenda items, this list is growing. We will be knocking out a lot of it next month. We have a LCAP public hearing June 11th, the budget public hearing June 11th, the final LCAP June 25th, the final budget June 25th, student enrollment update in June, single district voting in June. I'm proposing June 11th. The Lighthouse Charter School update in June, and Board Policy 6146.1 graduation requirements. I'm proposing that in the fall, not June. We're getting impacted, so. If there's any comments or questions, anyone needs to add anything? Want to tell all the staff to have a wonderful summer if we don't see you. I know we'll be at some events next year, and thank you very much for what you do. And if that's it, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.